We good? We good? Can you hear me? I am so excited to have all you guys here. It's okay. You know I got kids. I've got some cards with me. I'm a newbie at this, so I'm sure you'll bear with me if I have to take a peek. Woo! If I don't know you, grab me. I would love to meet you and get to know you a little bit better. So let me introduce myself if you don't know me. I'm Josh Tolbert. I am husband to Mary, my much better half, wherever she is, back over there. Father to 5 kids that, whether you know it or not, you are appreciative that they are not here, although we'd be in pretty good company. I am a small business owner. I am an engineer, and most importantly, I am a Christian. So my faith shapes the way that I see the world, the way that I think about other people, and how I want to care for other people and serve other people, and that's part of the reason that I'm here. I have surprised myself in that I am running. I'm sure you can imagine, most of you that know me have asked so many times, why am I doing this? I've always been passionate about policies. I'm an engineer and I'm a problem solver. And so policies are how we solve problems in the government. So that has interested me. Politics, on the other hand, has not. I feel like it is in the way of solving the problems. It is not part of solving the problems. But it's very difficult to separate the two. So here we are. I can no longer with a clear conscience say I am not a politician. And I don't know how that makes me feel. But so why in the heck am I doing this? I was reaching out to our state senator and our state rep to talk about some policies with education and recognize that, we're not very aligned on that. And then I started looking and noticed that our state senator has not been opposed. The candidate for state senator has not been opposed since 2014. And that's not good. That's not good for a Democrat. It's not good for a Republican. If I had to pick, I'd pick one. But, I'm not in favor of that. I don't think that is good. And so I said I can either sit here and gripe about it or I can do something about it. So that's what we're doing. We're doing something about it. I think competition is really good for politics, just like it is for private industry. A lack of competition is bad. It's bad for the candidate and it's bad for the voters. It makes candidates lazy. It makes them complacent. They cater to their base and only their base. You tend to find yourself going to the extremes of your party. You don't really spend a lot of time thinking about the guy in the middle, and especially not the guy on the other side. Now, for voters, it's obvious, right? If you're a candidate, if you're a voter that's not on the side of the candidate, you feel like you have no voice. You feel like your vote is not important. It doesn't matter, and you disengage. If you're on the side of the candidate, it's kind of the same thing. You know that you're going to win. With politics, we only care about blue D's and red R's, and you don't really care about how good the candidate is. You don't get to see the candidate's ideas pressure tested. You don't get to see the weaknesses bubble to the surface or the strengths get highlighted. You just have a candidate, and you disengage. And your candidate is not better prepared to serve you when they're in office. And we've got an example of that right here. You were standing in Senate District 35, and you're also standing in House District 42. Both of these positions have basically gone, for the most part, unopposed for the last 10 years, 12 years. And you may or may not be aware of it, but there was an upset last year. Disengaged Democratic voters elected a candidate that's a 27-year-old bartender that's an open socialist. I hope that I'm not the only one that thinks that's not a good person to represent our community on the state legislative level, okay? And I would think that most of my Democratic friends would feel the same way. I think that as candidates, when we are tested with competition, we get better. Iron sharpens iron. That is a big reason that I ran. But there's also an emotional factor here. The response to the Charlie Kirk event bothered me in a way that I wasn't prepared for. And this is not about your viewpoints on Charlie. This is about the response to free speech. And so a lot of people weren't fans of Charlie Kirk. But some of the responses in the middle that I saw, the more favorable ones in the middle were, I feel bad for his family, but I don't think there's a place for but when we're talking about violence for speech. And then it also gets worse. Some of the more negative response are, he deserved it. Hate brings hate, or whatnot. And these aren't just from ordinary people. I have 5 opponents in this particular election. There's only one that has much political experience. There's a candidate that has 20 years. He's been in office 20 years as a House rep. And he posted on his social media the day after the assassination on September 11th, I can't feel bad about Charlie Kirk. And I didn't really know what to do with that at first. I can't feel bad about that. I think that there are a number of factors there. I think when you can't feel bad about it, you're in a way condoning it. It's okay. I understand. That's not a place that we want to be at. I just, that's not who we are. That's not the world that I want for my kids. That's not who we are as Georgians. But instead of focusing on the bad, what are the things we do want for our kids? What are the things that are important to our community and to our district? I think for me, there's a lot of things, but there's a couple big ones. And so when we talk about education, I think it's really important from an education perspective that we have a strong education for all kids, regardless of what zip code they're in. And that means choices on where they go to school. That means increased salaries for teachers. That means better resources for teachers. We're leaving the politics to the parents. I think pretty much everybody agrees on that point. I think another one is how do we care? How do we love our neighbors? How do we care for those in our community? For a long time, we've relied on nameless, faceless government programs that may or may not be very effective. I generally find them to not be. But we have a tremendous amount of community organizations, churches, charities, private businesses, nonprofits, that are built to care for our community. And there's a number of policies we can talk about, but there are ways that we can help them care for our community instead of relying on the government to do so. I think that a lot of interest in this district is on housing costs, and there's a lot of factors that I think play into that are important. Me and my Democratic friends would agree on a number of them. I don't think that we should have large corporations buying up large amounts of single-family homes and owning 11% or whatever it is in the greater Atlanta area. I think we pretty much all agree on that. I think that there are some zoning reform that we need to look at to encourage increased supply. And I think we've had tremendous increases in property taxes. Those of us here in Smyrna, I know, are going to agree with this. Tremendous increases in property taxes. Yeah. And unfortunately, the ones hit most are the lower cost homes. In Cobb County, if your house is $250,000 or less, your property taxes have increased 18.5% in the past 3 years. That's if you're renting, that's passed on to you. And I think that's something we really need to address from a costing standpoint. So what I intend to bring is a pragmatic, problem-solving approach, an engineering approach to government, common sense, in which the argument is won by the strongest idea, not the strongest personality. That's what I intend to bring. If these are things that you agree with and support, there are a number of ways that you can get involved. You can donate. We want to spread the message to people and let them know that in District 35 that we have a choice. There's a choice to be made here. You can volunteer. The family and I and the kids, we're knocking on doors. We're making calls. You can participate in that. You can host a meet and greet. We can go into a neighborhood and meet some people and shake hands. And of course, voting and spreading the word to your family, your friends, your neighbors. Just let them know what's going on here. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you being interested. I appreciate you being involved in a district that hasn't had a lot of choices to vote on. And let's make a difference. Thank you.